Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
So we are from the College of St. Benilde, and we are here to conduct an interview so that we may know how hotels manage their assets,
Okay.
and so that we can apply it in our future lives as young hoteliers, and so that we may know how a director of sales manages the company or the hotel.
Hi, I'm Melissa Ledesma, Director of Sales and Marketing for the Grand Hyatt Manila. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please have a seat.
So, Brylle, go for the first question.
So for the first question, Ms. Ledesma, they said managers spend time thinking because they believe in the power of ideas and trust their own creativity. Is that true that you only believe your own ideas?
As managers, we don't really think, spend time to think. There's a lot of tools that help us deliver how to make decisions or what tactical campaigns to do. We have statistics that back us up, plus the trends of the market. I'm talking in terms of sales and marketing. And also experience. Plus, I have a big team that support most of the way we decide on whatever it is we need to implement. So, yes, we do think about it based on these aspects. There are measurements that we rely on to come up with something. And creativity, yes. I would say a lot of our activities and initiatives are really based on creativity because you cannot be doing the same things over and over to be at the top of your game.
Good afternoon. They say managers motivate and communicate. How is this done in your organization?
Well, okay, I manage a team of 32. A lot of them are in the ranks. I have quite a number of fresh graduates, and then the supervisory level and the managers are obviously coming from other hotels. Your question is to motivate, right?
How do they motivate and communicate?
Okay. Personally, I empowered my people to think for themselves what would work in the tasks or the functions that they are handling. Being the boss of a division is not exactly a dictator to tell them what they should and should not do. This is the reason why I have people in the field to tell me what's going on in the market because they're the barometers of the market. So it's a give and take. They tell me information. I pick their minds on how they will be more successful in whatever task they're doing. But I think that it should be a team activity for whatever it is, and giving them that empowerment is the best motivator because then they get to think, they get to be creative, they feel good about themselves, they have job satisfaction, they're fulfilled. So to me, that's the biggest motivator.
Next question.
As they say, Ms. Ledesma, managers set their objectives. They determine what these objectives should be. What steps do you take in setting your objectives?
Okay. Well, being in sales and marketing, our objectives are clearly driven by numbers. It's revenue, a certain measurement. I'm not sure if you've already taken this up in school, but we go by revenue per available rooms, for example. We go for occupancy, average daily rate, etc. So for a sales and marketing team, we are given objectives by our shareholders, our owners, the hotel management to deliver a certain number. Okay. Now that number, therefore, is divided into each of the revenue generating areas of the hotel, and we decide how much to give whoever. But the most important part is, out of that objective, how will any of these departments who are supposed to deliver it create the strategy to arrive at it? Because it's not just a matter of saying, hey, I'm going to deliver X% occupancy with this revenue. You have to think, how and what to do to be able to arrive at it. So in terms of objectives are there. It's the strategy that I, as a leadership committee, have to think of along with my team members so that we are able to deliver that. Again, I rely basically on teamwork. Why? Because if I drive my strategies to my team just because it's my strategy, there will be no buy-in from the people who are going to implement the activities to arrive at it. So the good thing with involving the people underneath would be, one, it motivates them. Two, they have a buy-in. So if I say, you deliver X revenue, they say, yeah, I can do it. And this is what I'm going to do to arrive at that. So it's a collaboration of my staff and ourselves in management.
Is it really important for you that your employees themselves are satisfied with their jobs?
Yes. Otherwise, they'll quit and I'll end up with no one. And to me, I think those people who are really serious about hotel, what will drive them to be successful at what they're doing is the fact that they authored something. And whatever they deliver later on, they can say, I achieved it because it was my idea. I don't think anyone would like to be dictated on what to do up to a certain extent, but it should have a certain amount of creativity from the implementer themselves, that they have that leeway to be creative and therefore deliver what is expected of them.
Oh, they said managers are totally focused on the vision, mission, and core values of their company. They have the clear sense of what they want to accomplish. Will it always be about the company or a little bit of companionship with the employees?
Okay, that's a lot of things there. If you read right behind you, these are our core values: respect, integrity, humility, empathy, creativity, and the last is fun. Okay, I cannot work in a company whose values don't align with my personal ones, because otherwise I will be unhappy and demotivated to continue. And I advise you people, when you start looking for a job in a hotel industry or restaurant or whatever it is, the corporate value should be the same as yours. Otherwise, you'll quit. What do we do here in Grand Hyatt? Being a new property, we're set to open middle of this year. Grand Hyatt is the very first Grand Hyatt brand to open in the Philippines. I'm sure you're familiar with Hyatt Regency and Hyatt City of Dreams. The very first Hyatt that opened was in the 70s. It was Hyatt Regency then, and then it became now Midas, and then they moved to Hyatt Hotel and Casino, which is now rebranded to a new world. And then the core values are the same across all Hyatts. I think that we should follow this, but there are certain characteristics that is distinct to Grand Hyatt, and I think one would be fun, because we want to portray ourselves as, yes, we are a luxury brand, but we want to be fun in the way we execute events or the way we handle our guests. Fun is a big component there. Okay, so without these values that govern us in the way we train our staff, for example, when we're serving you, we don't want to be like a robot that says, you want coffee, blah, cappuccino, blah, blah, blah. There's, we want people to engage with the customers, with the guests, when they're serving them, because we feel that if a relationship is built, even for that short period of time, the guest experience will make them want to come back. That is a value for us. And that is the only way that our guests will return to us and be loyal to us. That's one. Respect is major for me. If a company doesn't have that, forget it. Don't even bother. Integrity, to me, in any company should be part of their core value, because it talks about integrity, trusting that person. You're giving your money to an entity because you want services out of it, but you should trust them to deliver what it is that your expectations are.
The fifth function of a manager is developing people.
Okay.
Please do share on how do you do that in your organization.
In Hyatt, we do a lot of training. Before you begin, your first day is spent on a 2-day orientation course. After that, when you get a hold, when you're already oriented on what Grand Hyatt is all about, before you can even, if you're a fresh graduate, before you even do your work itself, you undergo training. We don't just let people to go out in the wild without any training, because it is important that they carry themselves like a Grand Hyatt employee would and a Grand Hyatt associate would. We have online training. It's very we're a technology-driven company, so we do have a lot of online training, which is measured by hours and all that. We also do cross-training. We have 600 hotels in the world under the Hyatt brand, and then if they hit that and there's an opportunity for training wherever in the world, we send them. And for my side, a lot of my training will be done by my department heads and myself. To me, it's a mix of everything. You have your theoretical, which is, like I said, the online training, the Cornell courses, etc. But also being part of a brainstorming session, for example, with the more senior staff, it gives the younger ones in the group an opportunity to start thinking in the strategy formulation, creativity, everything comes out because they hear and see what everybody else is doing as well.
Please explain to us your decision-making process.
Decision-making process is not cast in stone, I think. It depends on what the scenario calls for. There are times when you need to decide right there and then, given the facts on both sides of the problem. If it's a problem, then you make a decision. But if it involves other people, it would be a good idea to involve the people who are responsible for it, discuss the scenario on all sides, and then you come up with a decision. It's a lot of it is born out of experience. A lot of it also is how much information you know of the scenario, because there sometimes when you make decisions that are not well thought of, it leads to more problems. So before anything is made, you have to arm yourself with the facts on everything around that scenario for you to come up with a sound decision.
What factors are needed in order to set up the performance appraisal for the individuals in your organization, the Grand Hyatt?
Depends on what level that you are appraising. If you're talking leadership heads, they have longer. It's like 5 pages, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Department heads have about 3, supervisors, etc., etc. You shouldn't be limited to your job description. And if something pops in and it says, but it's not my job to do that, then you will fail. I'll tell you that already. Working for a hotel, I think you should be able to go out just to please a customer or to fix a fault or whatever it is.
Can you please explain how the organization is set up in order to meet corporate goals and objectives?
Well, okay. For sales and marketing, we do have periodic meetings to measure where we are at vis-a-vis our overall budget. Obviously, when that happens, it's not just a question of, okay, I didn't make occupancy this month, but I did RevPAR, I did whatever it is. We also talk about other things, like what else can you do to further deliver the revenues required. So that constant communication through a meeting is actually very beneficial for everybody. What happens is the function heads in the organization will discuss. Let's say after every month, we measure ourselves how far we are from the overall goals. In the end, if we're far from it, then that's when we start thinking of other things to do. See, performance is not just based on how you perform as an individual. Market has a lot to do with it. Okay, political situation has a lot to do with it. Change in government has a lot to do with it. So there's a lot of factors that can influence how your performance is. There's so many metrics that we rely on in terms of success. RevPAR is number one for rooms, revenue for F&B, food and beverage revenue, profitability. We measure it even by person, how the performance of that person is vis-a-vis the revenues that are coming in. So productivity is another measure. So there's really a lot of measures that we are governed depending on what division you are in to say if you're a success or you're not. And if you're not hitting your objectives, there are steps that you can take to remedy the situation.
Can you explain or expound your problem-solving process?
I don't have a process, like I said. It depends on the scenario. Again, I will get all the information surrounding the scenario. Okay? You have to know both sides. You have to understand why that happened. There's no hard and fast rule in the hotel industry. Why? Because you're dealing with guests. They're people. Guest A and guest B think differently. They have cultural differences. They have an executive would think differently from a person who's there for a vacation. So really, when it comes to problem solving, just know everything that surrounds how that happened. Get to know the sides of everybody involved. Get to know what the customer is asking for, the guest, what his expectations are. Then from there, see if you can deliver or surpass what his expectations are.
For the last question, what tips can you share to us students who aspire to be hotel managers someday?
People think it's a glamorous job, but it's not. Do not look down on the task of whatever department there are in the hotel, because if you don't know the basics, you will not be a successful manager. To me, managers who have assumed the role as a manager without having to go through the ranks is not as successful, because the decision making of that person will not be that sound, because he has no experience to back him up on certain decisions he has to make in the future. Another advice I have is, because we are in hotel and because we face guests are people. When they come into your hotel, you don't know where they came from or what experiences they had before they entered the door. So if they come in irate, don't take it personally. Just understand him, why he became that way, because you don't know what happened before he came in front of you. So at first, I'm sure it's gonna hit you emotionally, but later on you will realize that, you know what, it happens. In your restaurants, there are people who just shout and curse. I've seen that. In fact, in my younger days, I would probably be a bad client in a restaurant because I would complain and this, then that. But as the years go by, you will understand also the side of the service provider. But if you come across an irate guest, that is an opportunity for you to turn him around and become a loyal guest. And I've had the luxury of having those in my experience as well. So there.
I'd like to ask another question.
Yes.
From a consumer's perspective, why choose Grand Hyatt?
Okay. Grand Hyatt, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's a luxury brand. If I were a guest and there are several hotels to choose from, I'd go for a brand that is strong worldwide. We are a 600 strong brand, hotel brand. 600 hotels in the world. We have a very good loyalty program. We call it the World of Hyatt, where you enjoy rewards and you can use it in any hotel around the world. Hyatt standards are of a certain level. Grand Hyatt is even a certain level. I know that if I check in Grand Hyatt Tokyo, or I check in Grand Hyatt Singapore, or I check in at the Grand Hyatt Manila, I will be recognized as a traveler who is sophisticated. Certain level of luxury is what I require, and I know that I am going to receive consistent service from that brand. Okay. What else? Grand Hyatt is a new hotel in BGC. It's the tallest building in the Philippines currently. It will be the tallest hotel in the next how many years?
So when did you start the construction?
Oh, I don't know. I think I was still in my previous life when they did this. I think 2007.
2007.
Yeah. See, the building, although we are 66 stories, from the 7th to the 34th is Metro Bank Financial Group. There are only 7 to the 34th story. So that's Metro Bank, but they have their own driveway, own entrance. We are, from the ground to the 6th is our public area. So our lobby, our restaurants, our event spaces, poolside, spa, gym. Then from the 35th to the 59th are guest rooms. So where the other buildings end is where our guest rooms begin. So you can imagine your nightlight is the sea of lights from outside.
Yeah. That's nice.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
It was really nice meeting such a wonderful and knowledgeable person like Mrs. Ledesma. I have learned a lot of things from her, things that I can apply in my life. She shared her knowledge, insights, and also her experiences, which helped us realize some things that we did not know before. I was actually scared before the interview began because we were about to interview someone who is well respected in the hospitality industry. But as the interview went on, I became more relaxed and confident. The interview went well and according to plan. We had fun doing the interview and we also learned many things from it, such as how to manage a hotel.
Going into the interview, I expected our interviewee to give us a clear and concise image of how a manager acts in his given organization. The interview for me was very informative because I learned so much from her, such as how she communicates with her people, how important the people who work for her are, and the dedication needed to succeed. She told us that she regularly met up with her people. Since she's in sales, it's important for her to keep in touch with the people to see how the flow of work would be doing so that she could gauge if they could meet their quota. It was important for her to stay updated and active in her organization.
After the interview, I was inspired and also I learned a lot of lessons. I learned that we're all going to go through bad times. We're all going to start with the first page. There will be times that will make us want to give up, but the key to success is hard work. Whatever your customers say about you, just stick to the rules, listen to what your boss says, and treat them with respect because all the good things that you're doing will come back to you.
What I've learned is that everyone started from nothing and only hard work can bring you on top. And I also learned that there are people behind your success and don't forget to repay them for what they've done. I also learned that a true leader listens to his or her subordinate to come up.
I've learned so much from the interview, and to me, if you really want to achieve something, you really have to work hard for it, and you need to start from the bottom because you never stop
After
learning.
conducting the interview with Mrs. Ledesma, I learned that communication is one of the keys to come up with a better result. Motivation is also very important, and working with your team, sharing ideas with each other is essential to come up with a great result.